through the afternoon hours is our best opportunity to see these storms fire up again, possibly strong. We had a couple warnings last night, very similar setup. Any storm that bubbles up, it could tap into that energy that's all around, dump the heavy rain, bring some strong damaging wind gusts, and then kind of rain itself out. So wind damage and flooding are going to be the biggest concerns here as we head through the rest of really the week. We'll be watching for pop-up storms. But a reminder here too, if you are susceptible to power outages, even though it's not as hot as it was, it is still very warm. Temps are in the 80s, pushing near 90 farther away from the lakeshore. So it's still going to be feeling very hot. Right now, first alert Doppler radar. I've got the cloud cover on too. Some storms initiating out to our northwest there. We've got a little front just hanging over our area right on our bubble of heat. Another trigger for these storms to fire up. Pretty much the entire area is under a level 1 out of 5 risk. Again, it's the lowest risk, but it's not 0, which is why we issue alert days. Again, biggest concerns are going to be heavy rain and those gusty winds. So hour by hour as we head through the day today, still muggy out there. Temps are going to be in the mid 80s. You factor in the heat index, though, what it feels like outside. Most of us are still going to be feeling like we're in the low 90s. We're just away from those triple digits. Still very hot, though, and still might be feeling closer to that the farther south you go towards Tuscarawas, Stark County. But overall, across the board here, notice again, we're closer to 90 through Stark County and Tuscarawas, a little cooler along the lake shore, but anywhere has that potential to see a storm and tap into some of that moisture that helps fuel it to make it stronger. Coming up, I'm going to track the storm threat for you hour by hour today, and the rest of the week, I'll let you know if we're holding on to the heat as we head into the weekend. You've been busy. What I was going to say is, too, we're looking out at the harbor of Lake Erie. When we have a wind like we do right now, south-southwest, it can be a little deceiving because sometimes along the lakeshore, it's not too wavy, but then you get a little bit farther out because of that westerly component, and it gets more choppy. Just a heads up if you maybe were itching to get out on the boat today. Two things to be worried about. One, it getting a little bit choppy. Two, it's still warm, not as hot as it was yesterday. And three, we'll be watching the threat of storms this afternoon. I said two things. That was three things. But a few things you'll want to, be at the back of your head if you are going out on Lake Erie today. Let's break down the timeline of the storm threat. Again, this morning it's warm and muggy. By lunchtime we could have an isolated shower or rumble of thunder popping up. This afternoon we get more heat, we have more humidity. That'll help fuel the chance for any storm that fires up to become strong or severe. Again, damaging winds and heavy rain are going to be the big concern. This evening as the sun goes down, our storm threat will start to lower, maybe an isolated shower or two, but overall we'll trend a little bit not as stormy once the sun sets. But this is another reason why we've got a couple of factors, storm ingredients that are lingering around the area right now. The humidity. Humidity is the measure of the moisture in the air. So when we talk about this type of environment, tropical is perfect for storms to develop. And notice, even though we're not in the 90s, the actual physical air temperature, it's going to feel close to 90 degrees because this humidity isn't going anywhere. We're feeling tropical all the way through the end of the week, which means we got to keep the threat of storms in the forecast through the end of the week. So hour by hour, this is 11 o'clock again, isolated shower or two. Then as we get hotter, the opportunity for another storm or two to fire up through the afternoon. You see some peaks of red. And I know Future View, has one out towards Mansfield, a shower in Sandusky. They could pop up anywhere, okay? We've got the environment across the entire area for a shower or storm to fire up. Not only do we have the humidity, I mentioned we've been in this big bubble of heat, which is why it's been tough for us to get storms. Well, a cold front tried to break through and it couldn't, so now it's just stuck right over our area. And what that creates is just a path for more storms to fire up. It can be what we call a trigger mechanism in the meteorology world. So that front can even also help fire up storms, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's something else we'll be watching. Now notice through 8 o'clock we quiet down. Again, once we get past sunset at 9, not really worried about the threat of severe weather overnight. So you won't have to worry about storms as you go to bed. But again, the threat of a couple storms is just going to stick around. We're back up near 90 degrees as we head towards the end of the week. Factor in that tropical humidity. What it feels like to your outside, it's going to be close to that triple-digit mark again. Now, we're back in the low 80s to start off the weekend. The front will finally push through, but then the humidity starts creeping back in towards the end of the weekend. We'll talk about as we head into July what the pattern's looking like coming up here in the next 10 minutes.